Things you can say about the food you eat, but not about your girlfriend.
Sure, I'll have seconds. Well, you look at the mold on that.
My God, this is juicy.
No one wants those eggs. Care for some more, boss?
Good morning. It's Tuesday, Trump Tuesday, February the 6th, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer and the patriotic song of the day, we will have the patriotic shorts, motivational shorts, Bishop Barron, Ayn Rand, the 33 Strategies of War, and a selection of one of former President Donald Trump's speeches. All that and more when I get back. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Thank you. And now some aviation shorts.
You should have turned your base before you hit the approach end of the runway. You're outside the airport traffic area.
We're on about a quarter-mile final, ma'am. Base.
Yeah, no, you should be inside the airport. You should have turned your base up even the numbers.
We can't do that and land on the 1,000-footers.
Well, that's what a short approach is.
I'm sorry, I guess we need to come up with something different because in order to complete a commercial check ride, we've got to do what's called a power-off 180.
That's fine, but don't ask for a short approach if you're going to do a power-off 180. That's my point.
Maybe we need to talk about that some more because you're the first controller in 15 years that's ever said that.
Well, if you're doing something other than a short approach, don't ask for a short approach.
Well, I will definitely look up the definition of short approach because I've never seen where it says you turn base abeam the numbers because I don't see how you could possibly do that.
Well, I Googled it, actually. I Googled short approach, and it said to turn your base abeam or before the numbers, and you will land probably touchdown around midfield.
Oh, you're not an emergency?
Negative. No, we have an engine failure, but not an emergency.
Oh, not an emergency. Okay, just so an engine failure, but you're not an emergency. Are you overweight landing, they want to know?
Not at all. No, not even that.
Not even that?
No.
All right.
The emergency equipment is standing by. We don't need it.
Warrior 24906 X-ray, your right main is now missing from the airplane. It is fallen off the airplane. Say your intentions.
Can I circle back to land?
Warrior 906 X-ray, affirmative. Are you a solo, ma'am?
I'm a student pilot solo, yeah.
Okay, it'll be okay. Just go ahead and circle the airport for now. Make a right turn to circle. We're going to get some people out to help you, okay?
Okay.
Maggie, this is John. How you doing?
I'm okay.
So, Maggie, left side will touch down first, and you're just going to ease the right side down. It's going to try to pull to the right, so be prepared to use as much left rudder and left brake as you have to try to keep it on the center line.
All right.
Beautiful job, Maggie. You got a whole bunch of people clapping for you up here.
All right.
Good job, Maggie.
Excellent job.
Okay, we do not have a runway 18. We've got a runway 17. Bronco 38, runway 17, clear to land.
7 clear to land.
Sky Bronco, what are you doing?
On the go.
Did you have an issue where you couldn't land?
A negative for Sky Bronco 38.
Roger.
Would be VFR back to BTL, Bravo Tango Lima.
Sky Bronco 38, Roger. In the future, when you're given an instruction to land, and if you don't want to land, you need to let us know.
Yeah, that's my bad. Sorry.
Sky Bronco 38, are you heading back northbound?
Affirmative for Sky Bronco 38.
Okay. You need to let me know what you're going to do when you're in the Class Delta. You said you're going to be southbound, and then now you've just turned northbound on your own. You can't be doing that. You have to talk to me to let me know what's going on.
I said direct BTL.
Number 1, you're now. Number 1, Roger. Wind 130.1.
Altitude.
Landing 1, Roger. And wind 130.1.
Air Canada 781, go around. 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 United 2065 without delay, cross to your left center ground point 8. Without delay, please. Traffic company 2 mile final on their fast. We're moving Southwest 3117, pull all the way up to the whole bars, hold short, straight left. We'll do it Southwest 3117, hold short, 2 foot straight left. Air Canada 781, tower. Air Canada 781, tower.
That's the target aviation. Let a member let me know when you're ready.
01, climb to 10,000, approved. Runway 22 right opposite direction, wind 100 at 5, clear for takeoff, change to departure.
Viper 01's clear for takeoff, 22 right up at 10,000, pushing 4. All right. Ready to do this? I'm ready. All right, let's send it. Make a little noise for God and Country, pull QGs. Here we go. Here we go, America. There she is. All the thrust. Oh, yeah. Just kick up all the pollen. There's 250 knots.
Altitude.
Wow. 300. 350. 400. 450. You ready to go? Ready. Here we go.
It's going to be a little bit before we get you higher than that for traffic.
Wow. Yep. That was awesome. Departure, good morning. Viper 01's passing 5,000 per 10,000.
Okay, Viper, what room are you off for?
Number 1 Juliet Mike, I have an aircraft that I'm not talking to did an approach at an airport outside my airspace. Went missed. He's at 2,300, about 30 miles ahead of you. Nobody can seem to reach him, and he's just flying in a straight line. Do you think you could fly by him and see if everything's okay?
Absolutely. Do you have a heading for him?
Number 1 Juliet Mike, fly heading 020.
020, 61 Juliet Mike.
He's losing speed and altitude, 70 knots, descending out of 1,200. Turning to the east now.
61 Juliet Mike, he may be going in.
Yeah, I think so. 1 Juliet Mike, if you can, just watch. Let me know if you see anybody come out. You got enough fuel to stay there for a second?
61 Juliet Mike, we got enough fuel. We're going to hang here.
Thank you. If you can, keep an eye for a second. Let me know if you see a canopy open or anything.
61 Juliet Mike, we're looking. Never saw you.
West Coast Guard is airborne now, heading that way.
And 1 November Romeo, I need you outside of the Bravo.
Negative.
Negative what?
I'm inside.
You were not given a clearance through the Bravo. 1 November Romeo, exit the Bravo immediately.
I've been talking to you the whole time. That's the whole point of talking to you.
You have to have a Bravo clearance. You have to request a Bravo clearance.
The Bravo clearance about 50 miles ago.
Nobody clears you through the Bravo but me.
Then clear me through.
No.
Yes. You're Excuse me, that is not appropriate language.
You realize you just landed that plane?
And that was the Aviation Shorts. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, the Military Shorts.
When you hear the sound of the A-10 Warthog's 30mm Avenger, you know that someone is about to have a very bad day. Normally, it's the enemy's, but that very same gun used to be nearly as dangerous for the pilots who used it. Let me explain. From the very beginning, the A-10 Warthog was specifically designed for its massive GAU-8 Avenger cannon, but the gun is so powerful that pilots quickly realized that firing it was risky. The immense power that it takes to propel 70 beer bottle-sized rounds per second ends up shaking the entire aircraft, and the fire erupting from the muzzle can momentarily blind the pilot, which can lead to accidents, particularly if engaged in a dive. Even the soot from the gun leaves the windshield black and hard to see through. But one of the most dangerous side effects was the particulate matter that could seep into the engines and cause flameouts. The Air Force finally managed to mitigate these risks, but it took years of trial and error before they found a solution.
Did you know in Band of Brothers, there is a scene where Lieutenant Spears runs across the town of Foy to reach I Company that is attacking from the opposite side. He then runs back through the enemy lines to his own men. This is not a fictional embellishment, but a real event that happened on January 13th, 1945. Spears did not have a clear plan or strategy when he decided to run through Foy. He simply acted on his instinct and courage, hoping to reach the other company and coordinate their attack. He later said that he was not afraid of dying, but of failing his mission. He also believed that the German soldiers were too surprised and confused by his bold move to shoot him. He ran as fast as he could, zigzagging and dodging bullets until he made it to the other side. He then talked to the I Company commander and gave him some instructions. He then ran back the same way he came, again avoiding enemy fire. His run through Foy was witnessed by many of his comrades, who were amazed and inspired by his bravery.
Did you know in the film U-571, the film depicts the story of a group of American sailors who board a damaged German submarine to steal its Enigma machine, a device used to encrypt secret messages during World War II. However, this plot is historically inaccurate, as the first Enigma machine was captured by the British Royal Navy in 1941, long before the U.S. entered the war. The film sparked controversy and criticism in the UK, where many felt it was disrespectful to the British sailors who risked their lives to obtain the Enigma. The filmmakers later added a caption at the end of the film, acknowledging that the Royal Navy was the first to capture an Enigma machine, but this did not appease the angry reactions.
He was a standout basketball player and competitive swimmer in high school, as well as the lead in every school play. He was also handy with a wrench, able to rebuild both car and airplane engines. His name was Clint Eastwood, and in 1951 he was drafted into the U.S. Army and assigned as a swimming instructor at Fort Ord in California, where he worked with GIs to improve their swimming skills. On September 30th, 1951, while flying on a Navy AD-1Q torpedo bomber, Eastwood and pilot, Lieutenant Francis Coleman Anderson, developed engine problems and crashed off the California coast, not far from San Francisco. Eastwood and Anderson swam 2 miles in the frigid waters to safety, foreshadowing his movie role as Frank Morris in the 1979 film Escape from Alcatraz, in which he and 2 other men swim away in the frigid water of San Francisco Bay. Clint Eastwood would be honorably discharged in 1953 and go on to an iconic career in acting and directing. He was a second lieutenant and bombardier for the 454 Bomb Group based in Cerignola, Italy. His name was Alphonse Riccardi, and he was part of the legendary crew dubbed Moo Juice that would fly over 50 missions across continental Europe. Riccardi was revered for his skill among his peers, but he was idolized by an 8-year-old Italian boy named Mario Capocefalo, who hung out at the base and shadowed Alphonse everywhere. Alphonse began teaching Mario English. They had a routine, 10 new words before each bombing run and a quiz afterwards. Mario was a real quick study, Alphonse would recall years later. At war's end, they had a teary farewell and lost touch until Alphonse got a phone call 40 years later. It was Mario, and he was now the manager of the Rome Hilton, and he had called to thank his hero. "I would be nowhere without you," Mario said in perfect English through tears. The two reunited the following year and stayed in touch for the remainder of their lives.
And that was the Patriotic Shorts. Back in a minute. Thank you, and now, a little motivation.
You have to hit rock bottom. That's the way up. Yeah, rock bottom is beautiful. The struggle of coming back is beautiful. That struggle. It's hard. It doesn't feel like it's beautiful while you're going through it, but it's just being tested. And without a test, there's no testimony.
You must go through those ends. Hit rock bottom. Your worst hour of despair becomes your best. As you get back up, you learn from that. And you continue to put one foot in front of the other. Because what you're going for is what you believe.
I just can't go on anymore. I'm working hard on my business, and nothing is working out. In fact, it seems like, in spite of my effort, everything is just falling apart. Like the business isn't struggling, it's dead. I realize that I'm everything you say a person shouldn't be. I'm lying in my bed right now. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. For the last 5 years, I've been making the wrong decision after wrong decision. And now I'm reaping what I've sown. My life was a train wreck, and I've really hit rock bottom. If that's you, and that's how you feel, and that's how you're feeling about your life, you need to really listen to what I'm going to talk about today, because I've been there. I've been there in business. I've been there in my life. And don't think for a minute that there wasn't a time when Chris and I looked around at our empty store and looked around at our bank account and said, man, this is never going to work. And you guys got to remember, I thought my life was over. And if I'm being totally honest, don't think for a minute that I've never done something shitty myself and had to face the consequences. I felt super guilty too about things I've done. And I've been really, really hard on myself. You guys have to understand that what you're going through here is normal. I've hit rock bottom. And let me tell you guys something. I can't explain it, but I've experienced it, and I can tell you that it's true. There's something really, really, really good about hitting rock bottom. It can be good for your business, and it is absolutely 100% good for you. There's an upside to hitting rock bottom. Defeat may be victory in disguise. The lowest ebb is the turn of the tide. When you feel dead in the water, that's good. When you feel like you're at the bottom, that's good. It means the next step is to wake the f*** up, rise the f*** up, and dominate in everything that you do. And the reason most people f***ing win so big when they come back from rock bottom, the reason that when you watch TV, you hear these stories of people who made something, lost it all, went to the bottom, and then came back up even stronger is because the journey of getting to the place, that journey is what creates the tools, the mindset, the skill, the determination, the perseverance to win the long battle of success. I don't know one successful person that is self-made that has had an easy life. They all have a story. And through the process of their struggles, they learn all these skills that are going to make you be successful. So if you're one of these people who's thinking, I'm everything that you say people shouldn't be, don't go too hard on yourself. Hang in there.
Stop being so hard on yourself. A blade does not become strong. It does not become tempered until it's been through the fire several times. And this is just your first or second time through the fire. And there's a lot of hammer work that has to take place. And then you're going to have to go back in the forge again. And it's hot. And it melts you down and you're uncomfortable. And then life is going to pull you out and it's going to put you on the anvil and it's going to hammer on you some more. And you're going to say, what? Am I done yet? Am I a sword for the ages? No, you're not. You're not done yet. All right? So just chill. Continue to have fun and just embrace the process. And don't look for what you are supposed to be fully, completely polished, sharpened, edged, tempered at 26 or 36, at 46. You've got a lot more forge time left. You've got a lot more hammer blows left. And it takes time. But if you will patiently embrace the process, then by the time you get up in years, you can be a man that you're proud of.
And that was a little bit of motivation. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, the daily law for February the 6th.
February 6th. Consider yourself a builder. No matter your field, you must think of yourself as a builder, using actual materials and ideas. You are producing something tangible in your work, something that affects people in some direct, concrete way. To build anything well, a house, a political organization, a business, or a film, you must understand the building process and possess the necessary skills. For all of this, you must go through a careful apprenticeship. You cannot make anything worthwhile in this world unless you have first developed and transformed yourself. Daily law. Like a builder, develop the highest standards and the patience for the step-by-step process. Mastery, Chapter 2. Submit to reality. The ideal apprenticeship.
And that was the daily law for February the 6th from the Daily Laws by Robert Greene. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now Bishop Robert Barron.
Do you know how our culture puts such a premium now on safety, doesn't it? Safe spaces and keeping us safe, and I'm being threatened, and that's threatening my safety. Well, look, I mean, I get it. We all want to be safe. It's a value. But can I suggest to you that a religion that puts before our eyes a man pinned to a cross is not a religion putting a high priority on safety? The saints don't strike me as people that were really big on safety. Rather, find your mission. Let Christ come to life in you. Set your heart on fire. Become, in some way, and look, it's different for every one of us, because the Lord gave us distinctive gifts and a distinctive experience and background. We're meant to carry his love into the world in some distinctive way. And then you'll know who you are. Do your mission. You'll find joy, and you'll transfigure the world.
And that was Bishop Robert Barron. Thank you. Now the Ayn Rand thought of the day. Quote, "The men who are not interested in philosophy absorb its principles from the cultural atmosphere around them, from schools, colleges, books, magazines, newspapers, movies, television, etc. Who sets the tone of a culture? A small handful of men, the philosophers." Unquote. And that was the Ayn Rand thought of the day. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now the next part of Chapter 12 of the 33 Strategies of War, called Lose the Battles, Win the War.
Part of grand strategy related to severing the roots is seeing dangers as they start to sprout, then cutting them down before they get too big to handle. A grand strategist knows the value of preemptive action. Take the indirect route to your goal. The greatest danger you face in strategy is losing the initiative and finding yourself constantly reacting to what the other side does. The solution, of course, is to plan ahead, but also to plan subtly, to take the indirect route. Preventing your opponent from seeing the purpose of your actions gives you an enormous advantage. So make your first move merely a setup. designed to extract a response from your opponent that opens him up to what comes next. Hit him directly, and he reacts, taking a defensive pose that may allow him to parry your next blow. But if he can't see the point of your strike, or if it misleads him as to where the next one will come from, he is defenseless and blind. The key is to maintain control of your emotions and plot your moves in advance, seeing the entire chessboard. The film director Alfred Hitchcock made this strategy a life principle. His every action a setup designed to yield results down the road. He calmly thought ahead and moved step by step. His goal was to make a film that matched his original vision, uncorrupted by the influence of the actors, producers, and other staff who necessarily came along later. By controlling every detail of the film's screenplay, he made it almost impossible for the producer to interfere. Should the producer try to meddle during the actual shooting, Hitchcock would have a camera ready on set with no film in it. He could pretend to take the extra shots that the producer wanted, letting the producer feel powerful without risk to the end result. Hitchcock did the same with actors. Instead of telling them directly what to do, he would infect them with the emotion he wanted, fear, anger, desire, by the way he treated them on set. Every step on the campaign trail fit perfectly into the next one. In working on the level not of the battle but of the campaign, your first step is crucial. It should usually be deceptively soft and indirect, making it harder to read. The Japanese bombing of Pearl Harbor during World War II was a devastating surprise, but as the first move of a campaign, it was a disaster. The Japanese showed their hand too quickly, rallying American public opinion to an intense level of anger. They ensured that the Americans would prosecute the war to the bitter end. And it was the Americans who had the greater military resources. Always pay attention to the first step of the campaign. It sets the tempo, determines the enemy's mindset, and launches you in a direction that had better be the right one. The Prussian military theoretician Karl von Clausewitz famously argued that war is the continuation of politics by other means. He meant that every nation has goals, security, well-being, prosperity, that it ordinarily pursues through politics. But when another nation or internal force thwarts their achievement through politics, war is the natural result. War is never merely about victory on the battlefield or the simple conquest of land. It is about the pursuit of a policy that cannot be realized in any other way than through force. When a war is lost, however, all fingers usually point at the military. We may sometimes go over the generals' heads to the politicians who declared war in the first place. During and after the Vietnam War, for example, some blamed the loss on the government's failure to commit to the war with full effort. More often, though, the post-game analysis is military. We pore over the war's battles, critiquing the officers' moves. And of course, it is the military that has planned and fought the war, but even so, the real problem is a problem of grand strategy. According to von Clausewitz, failure in war is a failure of policy. The goals of the war and the policies that drove it were unrealistic, inappropriate, blind to other factors. This idea is the philosophy of the grand strategist. Whenever anything goes wrong, it is human nature to blame this person or that. Let other people engage in such stupidity, led around by their noses, seeing only what is immediately visible to the eye. You see things differently. When an action goes wrong, in business, in politics, in life, trace it back to the policy that inspired it in the first place. The goal was misguided. This means that you yourself are largely the agent of anything bad that happens to you. With more prudence, wiser policies, and greater vision, you could have avoided the danger. So when something goes wrong, look deep into yourself, not in an emotional way to blame yourself or indulge your feelings of guilt, but to make sure that you start your next campaign with a firmer step and greater vision. Reversal. Grand strategy involves two dangers that you must consider and combat. First, The successes it brings you in your first campaigns may have the same effect on you that easy victory on the battlefield gives a general. Drunk on triumph, you may lose the sense of realism and proportion on which your future moves depend. Even such supreme grand strategists as Julius Caesar and Napoleon eventually fell victim to this dynamic. Losing their sense of reality, they began to believe that their instincts were infallible. The greater the victory, the greater the danger. As you get older, as you move to your next campaign, you must retrench, strain doubly hard to rein in your emotions, and maintain a sense of realism. Second, the detachment necessary to grand strategy can bring you to a point where you find it hard to act. Understanding the world too well, you have seen too many options and become as indecisive as Hamlet. No matter how far we progress, we remain part animal, and it is the animal in us that fires our strategies, gives them life, animates us to fight. Without the desire to fight, without a capacity for the violence war churns up, we cannot deal with danger. The prudent Odysseus types are comfortable with both sides of their nature. They plan ahead as best they can, see far and wide, but when it comes time to move ahead, they move. Knowing how to control your emotions means not repressing them completely, but using them to their best effect. Here are further reflections on the grand strategy. From the I Ching. Readiness is everything. Resolution is indissolubly bound up with caution. If an individual is careful and keeps his wits about him, he need not become excited or alarmed. If he is watchful at all times, even before danger is present, he is armed when danger approaches and need not be afraid. The superior man is on his guard against what is not yet in sight and on the alert for what is not yet within hearing. Therefore, he dwells in the midst of difficulties as though they did not exist. If reason triumphs, the passions withdraw of themselves. From Aesop's Fables. The fox and the monkey elected king. The monkey, having danced in an assembly of the animals and earned their approval, was elected by them to be king. The fox was jealous. So, seeing a piece of meat one day in a snare, he led the monkey to it, saying that he had found a treasure. But rather than take it for himself, he had kept guard over it, as its possession was surely a prerogative of royalty. The fox then urged him to take it. The monkey approached it, taking no care, and was caught in the trap. When he accused the fox of luring him into a trap, the fox replied, "Monkey, you want to reign over all the animals, but look what a fool you are." It is thus that those who throw themselves into an enterprise without sufficient thought not only fail, but even become a laughingstock.
And that was the next part of Chapter 12, Lose the Battles but Win the War, from the 33 Strategies of War by Robert Greene. Back in a minute. Thank you. So in the news, there's been a lot of talk about the border, and there's been crimes in New York City where illegal aliens are committing felonies left and right. And let me remind you what you can do to help about the border. Number one is you're going to have to vote, because ultimately, for this problem to be solved, the federal government has to do its job. So we need to have a president that's willing to make sure that the federal government does its job. So, but in the meantime, what you can do is make a profit. Make money off of these people. They need translation services, pay up. If you want to learn how to speak English, pay up. Whatever services, get involved in that. Find a way. You can do a DBA. Create a DBA and start making money off of these people. Okay? Now, What you can do is you can take all or some of the proceeds and donate it to Donald Trump, or donate it to Governor DeSantis, or donate it to Governor Abbott. See what I mean? That's called irony. So that's one of the things that you can do if you want to get on a day-to-day basis to deal with immigration. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, former President Donald Trump speaking at the Republican House Member Conference in February of 2018.
House and Senate Republican Member Conference, February 1st, 2018.
Thank you, Paul and Mitch, for the introduction and for your tremendous leadership. You folks have done well. I just looked at some numbers. You've even done better than you thought, I think, based on what we just saw about 10 minutes ago. And I want to thank you to the governor of this incredible state, my very good friend, Jim Justice, and his wonderful wife, Kathy, who are with us. And Jim is now a proud member of the Republican Party. He was a Democrat. He switched over, right? You don't see that too often. Maybe we'll see it more and more, but thank you, Jim. And the hotel is beautiful and everything's beautiful. We appreciate it. It's great to be among so many friends for the second time this week. Tuesday was an incredible evening as we were all inspired. And I really mean that. We were inspired by America's heroes and uplifted by everyone who has sacrificed in the fight for freedom. They were and are incredible people that we saw that night, and tremendous courage. And one of the people, I have to say, boy, you got a very big hand, Steve. Steve Scalise. A great hand. And we're all truly blessed to be Americans. Before going any further, I want to send our prayers to everyone affected by the train accident yesterday, and especially to the family of the person who was so tragically killed. Our thoughts are with the victims and their loved ones, and thank you. With us today on stage is our incredible leadership team, and they really have. If you just look at what's happened in the last short period of time. Without them, I could have never won the presidency, I guess. I don't know. Could I have won the presidency without them? Huh? Steve, yes, right? I don't know. But they become very good friends, and we're now in battle together and in friendship together. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Thank you, Mitch. Great guy. That was a big win we had, Mitch. Senate Majority Whip John Cornyn. John, thank you. Great job. House Majority Whip Steve Scalise. Again, Steve, thank you. House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy. Kevin. Chair John Thune and House Conference Chair Kathy McMorris Rogers. Did they forget your name, John? I don't know. What's going on here? John Cornyn, everybody knows. They didn't put his name up, but that's okay. That's the first time that's ever happened. Hey, John, that'll never happen again. Working together, we've accomplished extraordinary things for the American people over the last year. And I really believe this is just the beginning. You know, Paul Ryan called me the other day, and I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but I will say that he said to me, he has never, ever seen the Republican Party so united, so much in like with each other. But literally the word united was the word he used. It's the most united he's ever seen the party, and I see it too. I have so many friends in this group, and there is a great coming together that I don't think either party has seen for many, many years. So, right? Yep. That's good. I was hoping he wouldn't deny that, but he did. He called me, and I thought it was very nice. So thank you, Paul, very much. Every day we're removing government burdens and empowering our citizens to follow their hearts and to live out their dreams. The priorities of Republicans in Congress are the priorities of the American people. We believe in strong families, and we believe in strong borders. We believe in the rule of law, and we support the men and women of law enforcement. We believe every American has the right to grow up in a safe home and attend a good school and have access to a really great job. And we know that for Americans, nothing, absolutely nothing, is out of reach. Because we don't know the meaning of the word quit. We don't quit. And the Republican Party certainly hasn't quit. Because if we did, we wouldn't be here today. We'd be sitting home saying, boy, that was a tough year. Instead of that was one of the greatest years in the history of politics, in the history of our country for a party, what we've done and what we've accomplished. I don't think it's been done, and certainly not by much. We had a year that was almost, I would think, unlike any. It was a tremendous success, and I give everybody in this room the credit, and I give certainly these people behind me tremendous credit for what took place, especially in that last month. That was a month of tremendous pressure, and that was people that were able to act under pressure. My favorite type of person. They were able to act under tremendous pressure. So I just want to thank you all, because that's what it was all about. And, you know, it was interesting. While we had a great year, we weren't being given credit for it. Regulations at a level that nobody's ever done. In 1 year, we knocked out more regulations than anybody. Supreme Court justice, judges all over. So many different records, so many successes. But when we got the great tax cut bill, and we call it the Tax Cut and Jobs Bill, we got that. It was like putting it all in a box and wrapping it with a beautiful ribbon. We started getting credit, not only for that, but for all of the other things that we did during the year. It's amazing the way that happened. I was surprised, actually. But we got a lot of credit from a lot of people, and all of a sudden they're saying, while he had a lot of accomplishment, and then they went on to do the thing. But the fact is, you understand that. But we really did. We got a lot of credit. It all came together in that final month. And so I give everybody in this room really kudos. We're a nation of builders and dreamers and strivers and fighters. And together we're building a safe, strong, and very proud America. Already since the election, we've created 2.4 million jobs. That's unthinkable. And that doesn't include all of the things that are happening. You're going to see numbers that get even better. The stock market has added more than $8 trillion in new wealth. Unemployment claims are at a 45-year low, which is something. After years of wage stagnation, we are finally seeing rising wages. African American and Hispanic unemployment have both reached the lowest levels ever recorded. That's something very, very special. And when I made that statement the other night, there was zero movement from the Democrats. They sat there, stone cold, no smile, no applause. You would have thought that on that one they would have sort of at least clapped a little bit, which tells you perhaps they'd rather see us not do well than see our country do great. And that's not good. That's not good. We have to change that. And as I said, we've eliminated more regulations in our first year than any administration has ever eliminated. And that means 4 years, 8 years, or in one instance, 16 years. In 1 year, we've knocked out more regulations. It's an amazing thing. And I happen to think that that is every bit as important toward our success as the tax cuts. I have many business friends and many people in business that came to me and they say that, including small businesses, they say the fact that they no longer have to go through years of turmoil in getting approved and getting approvals and getting rule changes and getting all sorts of things and getting old while they're waiting to get them. The fact that all of that is gone is probably as important or even more important to the massive tax cuts we've gotten people. So that's something. We've signed into law the biggest tax cuts and reforms in American history. And I have to say, included in there is the individual mandate. We repealed it. That's a big one. That's so big. By itself, that would be a big achievement. And we sort of take it as, well, that was included. And ANWR, one of the great potential fields anywhere in the world. And I never appreciated ANWR so much. A friend of mine called up who's in that world and in that business, said, is it true that you're thinking about ANWR? I said, yeah, I think we're going to get it. But, you know, he said, are you kidding? That's the biggest thing by itself. He said, Ronald Reagan and every president has wanted to get ANWR approved. And after that, I said, oh, make sure that's in the bill. It was amazing how that had an impact. That had a very big impact on me, Paul. I really didn't care about it. And then when I heard that everybody wanted it for 40 years, they've been trying to get it approved, I said, make sure you don't lose ANWR. But it's great for the people of Alaska. And Senator Sullivan, Senator Murkowski are here someplace. Where are they? But they are very happy campers. Where, Senator? Good, Senator. Thank you. They work very... Where's Don Young? He's such a quiet guy. Where's... Don Young also. Don, thank you. So, no, we were always going to get it. We never had a problem with it. But you think about it, that by itself is a big bill. The individual mandate by itself is a big, powerful bill. That was just added on to what we did with the massive tax cuts. I want to thank Senate Finance Chairman and a very spectacular man, Orrin Hatch. Where's Orrin? Orrin is... I love listening to him speak. He said once, I am the single greatest president in his lifetime. Now, he's a young man, so it's not that much. And he actually once said, I'm the greatest president in the history of our country. And I said, does that include Lincoln and Washington? He said, yes. I said, I love this guy. I love him. But he is. He's a special guy. And House Ways and Means Chairman Kevin Brady for their incredible work. Kevin, where are you, Kevin? What a job. I'd call Kevin night after night. Kevin, what about this? What about that? You were always there. He was working. What did you average sleep for about 4 weeks? About maybe nothing. I think he had no average. But you did a great job. Nobody knows it better than you, Kevin. Thank you. Maybe we'll do a phase 2. I don't know. We'll do a phase 2. Are you ready for that, Kevin? I think you're ready. We'll get them even lower. But we are proud of you. Here in West Virginia, as a result of our tax cuts, the typical family of 4 will save roughly $2,000 a year. To lower tax rates for hardworking Americans, we nearly doubled the standard deduction for everyone. Now, the first $24,000 earned by a married couple is completely tax-free. And when I came into this beautiful building just a little while ago, one of the people said, you know, I just got a check and I have $221 more than I had last year at this time in my envelope. And that's what we were waiting. We were waiting for February. And then we got hit with these corporations giving tremendous bonuses to everybody that Nancy Pelosi called crumbs. That was that could be like deplorable. Does that make sense? Deplorable and crumbs? Those two words, they seem to have a resemblance. I hope it has the same meaning. But she called it crumbs when people are getting $2,000 and $3,000 and $1,000. That's not crumbs. That's a lot of money. We also doubled the child tax credit, and that's so helpful to so many. We've gone from one of the highest business tax rates anywhere in the world to one of the most competitive, one of the lower ones, so that our great workers and companies can compete and win against anyone. We've now given them the tools to go out and win. And that's what they're doing. And they're also pouring back. A lot of you folks, you saw Davos the other day, they're coming back. I believe I brought hundreds of billions of dollars with me back from Europe, back from Switzerland, when I went there the other day to make a speech. They're so excited about this country and what's happening here. And they would never, ever have come. In fact, if the opposing party had won the election, you would have had tremendous new rules and regulations put on everything, and other things would have happened. And instead of going up almost 50%, your stock market, in my opinion, would have gone down 50%. I really believe that, because they were stifling it. They were getting prepared to stifle even worse than it was. The changes to our business tax alone are expected to raise average household income by $4,000. Roughly 3 million workers have already received tax cut bonuses and raises totaling thousands and thousands of dollars per worker. And that's just over the past 6 weeks alone. Because of our tax cuts, Apple is investing $350 billion in the United States. They're bringing $240 billion back. $240 billion. They're going to pay a tax of $38 billion, Mitch, $38 billion. But they're going to invest a total of $350 billion. And when I first heard the number, I said, you don't mean billion, you mean $350 million. Because I've been saying to Tim Cook, Tim, we got to build plants here. You know, for $350 million, you can build a beautiful plant. But for $350 billion, they're going to build a lot of plants. And this would have never happened without us and the work you've done. And they're hiring 20,000 workers, by the way. And 2 days ago, ExxonMobil, in addition to many others, just announced that they're investing $50 billion in the United States. So the good news just keeps on rolling in, and it's going to. And I want to thank Senator Tim Scott for Opportunity Zones. Our tax plan encourages this investment. Where is Tim? What a good guy Tim is. Tim, see him over there someplace? Thank you, Tim. But we're investing in distressed communities to create more jobs for those who have too often been left behind. And Tim worked hard on that. We want every American to know the dignity of work, the pride of a paycheck, and the satisfaction of a job really well done. And we're reaching our hand all across the aisle in pursuit of common ground and common sense reforms for the good of all Americans, all Americans. We can reform our prison system to help those who have served their time get a second chance at life. And I've watched this, and I've seen it, and I've studied it. And people get out of prison, and they made a mistake. And not all. Some are very bad, but many are very good. And they come home, and they can't get a job. It's sad. They can't. They can't get a job. Now, the best thing we've done to fix that, Paul, is the fact that the economy is just booming. I mean, that fixes it better than any program we can do, anything we can do at all. But the economy is so strong now and so good, and so many companies are moving in, that I really believe that that problem, it's a big problem, is going to solve itself. But we're working on it. We can invest in workforce development, job training, and open new vocational schools, because we want every American to be able to reach their full God-given potential. Vocational schools. Today you have community colleges, and you have all of the... When I was growing up, we had vocational schools. And when I was going to school, I remember I was in high school, and there were people in class, one person in particular, he wasn't like the greatest student. And he just wasn't. And yet I saw him one day, and he was able to fix a car engine blindfolded. And everybody else was saying, that's amazing how talented he is. He had a different kind of a talent. And we should have vocational schools. You learn mechanical, you learn bricklaying and carpentry and all of these things. We don't have that very much anymore. And I think the word vocational is a much better word than, in many cases, a community college. A lot of people don't know what a community college means or represents. So we're working very hard on vocational schools, so that when all these companies move into this country, we're going to have a workforce that knows exactly what they're doing. In addition to that, when they move in, we're giving them incentives to also train people themselves, because in many ways that's the best way to do it. In Wisconsin, we have a great company moving in. They make all of the Apple iPhones, and they're going to have a big program. They're going to have a tremendous program to teach people how to do this, because it's a whole new skill, and it'll be very successful. We can reduce the price of prescription drugs and ensure that terminally ill patients have a right to try. So important, right to try. You know, those drugs, they sit in there for 12, 13, 14 years, and a person's terminally ill. They have 2 months left. And under the old system, they don't want to give them even an experimental medicine because they're afraid they're going to be hurt. Well, they're not going to be around for 2 months. So they'll sign a waiver, and we're going to give them the hope of finding something. You have people, and I've known people like this, they travel all over the world to try and find a cure. And we have great experimental drugs, but it'll be years before they come onto the market. So it's called Right to Try, and I hope you folks can approve it, and I hope you agree with it, but I think it's so important. It's so important. And Scott Gottlieb is heading it up, and it's and the other thing you get is you learn pretty quickly how effective it is. Does it work? But you learn it really very quickly. So Right to Try. We can fix bad trade deals and negotiate new ones that are fair. And the most important word to me on trade is reciprocal. Because we have deals where companies will send in a motorbike, we charge them nothing. But when we send a Harley Davidson or a motorbike to those countries, they charge us 100% tax. That's not fair. So they'll send their motorbikes or something into us 0. We send it to them 100%. That's not fair trade. That's not fair. So I like the word reciprocal. If they're going to do it to us, we're going to do it to them. And what's going to happen is your numbers are going to either come down or we're going to make a lot of money. And either one is okay as far as I'm concerned. We can rebuild our crumbling infrastructure, and we will. Streamline the horrible approval process. Roadways that take 12, 13, 14 years to get approved. We used to build them in 3 months, and now it takes years and years of approvals. We're going to bring that down, ideally to 1 year. It's 2 years is our goal, but 1 year is our real goal. And we can get it done under budget, and we want to get it done ahead of schedule. Because you don't have too many of them, under budget and ahead of schedule. We can deliver for our police, our veterans, and our brave service members. And finally, after decades of waiting, we can finally pass immigration reform that protects our country, defends our borders, and modernizes our immigration rules to serve the needs of American workers and of American families. So important. One of the strengths of the Republican Party is that we're a big tent with many diverse views, but the one thing we can all agree on, and that's that in every decision, we make it our highest priority to serve and to protect the American people. We want an immigration policy that's fair, equitable, but that's going to protect our people. We want people coming in to our country based on merit and based on the fact that they are going to love our country and they respect our people in our country. We don't want visa lottery. Pick a lottery ticket. Pick a lottery. We don't want that. So we want it based on merit. We have a chance now to pass into law the immigration reforms that the American people have been demanding for decades and that many of you have been working on for your entire careers. We have a great opportunity as a Republican Party. As the Republican Party, we have a great opportunity. We're getting very little help from the Democrats, but I hope after I leave this room, we're going to get a call from these people, say, let's go. You know, they talk a good game. We have to get help from the other side, or we have to elect many more Republicans. That's another way of doing it. Really, that's another way of doing it. And based on the numbers we just saw, we have a real chance of doing that. You know, 18 is going to be very interesting, but we've got to do one or the other. Either they're going to have to come on board because they talk a good game with DACA, but they don't produce. And so either they come on board or we're just going to have to really work and we're going to have to get more people so we can get the kind of numbers that we need to pass in a much easier fashion legislation. And to get it done, we'll all have to make some compromises along the way to get it done this way. Now, to get it done the other way, if we win more, we don't have to compromise so much. Okay? With the tax bill, we got what we wanted because we had essentially a unanimous vote. But we have to go and we have to get it done and get it done properly. And we're going to have to compromise unless we elect more Republicans, in which case we can have it just the way everybody in this room wants it. We have to be willing to give a little in order for our country to gain a whole lot. If we're united, if we work together for the good of the nation, and we can fulfill our sacred duty to the country and to our incredible voters, we have really fulfilled a solemn promise. As you know, I have put forward an immigration framework based on many months of meeting and working with Tom Cotton and working with John Cornyn, who was in the office the other day, and David Perdue, incredible people, and Bob Goodlatte, who's out here someplace, really incredible people. And it's a strong bill, but it's a very fair bill, and it protects our borders. We have to protect our borders. It includes reforms that are overwhelmingly popular with the voters, including Democrats. The Democrats want to have, the real Democrats, they want to have their borders protected. But it includes Democrats, independents, Republicans. Americans want an immigration system that works for everybody, and they want safety. And by the way, they also want a strong military. And we have to be very powerful on our military. You know, our military has been depleted over the last long period of time.
And that was the first part of his speech to the House and Senate Republican Committee. Back in a minute. Thank you. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there and reminding you that you are not neutral and that the government has no rights.